Recognize Senator Carper for 7 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to you and our ranking member, thanks for holding this important hearing, and to our witnesses, thank you very much for joining us. I think I might have time for two questions. The first would deal with supply chain issues, and the second would focus on CTPAP related issues. And we start off with the first thing with respect to supply chain. And I'm going to direct this question to Deputy Assistant Commissioner Diane Sabatino. And I said in my notes here, it says Dak Sabatino. Is that a first name? What is DAK? Is that your name?
Yeah, it's Deputy Executive Assistant Commissioner.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I serve as chair on the subcommittee on international trade, on customs and global competitiveness, on the finance committee. As I'm sure you know well, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a host of supply chain issues for the availability of goods, ranging from consumer products to vehicles to canned goods. My question is this. Given CBP's mission to facilitate lawful international trade and travel, could you just talk with us for a bit about any lessons learned from the pandemic and how CBP adapted to address a change in any trade patterns?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I think from a perspective and not unique to CBP, certainly leveraging virtual technology across the field operations enterprise in a number of different areas, leveraging the expertise of our personnel across all of our ports of entry on a daily and recurring basis now that we have the ability to engage with them as frequently through Microsoft Teams and other endeavors. So certainly moving to a virtual environment, virtual engagements with all of our stakeholders, allowing us to reach more individuals with, a timely message simultaneously instead of multiple gaps, between stakeholders, and ensuring that we have a consistent message. Again, not unique, certainly to CBP, but leveraging the virtual environment as well for things like renewals of global entry applicant programs, freeing up 2,300 interviews per week to ensure that we tackle the volume that built up while the global entry enrollment centers were closed during the pandemic. I think from a trade perspective, as I mentioned, tapping into the expertise of our individuals across the country and really leveraging them in national dialogue with large stakeholder forums. I think, from the CTPAP perspective, also working with our international partners and companies overseas, again, virtual engagements and validations, things that we had traditionally relied on, costly travel, costly paperwork. I think really taking advantage of the technology is a lesson learned for CBP, and not losing sight of our opportunities to continue to leverage that while we're moving out of the significant travel restrictions and challenges, but really moving in the trade environment to as paperless a process as possible. Innovating in our seized property process, in our vaults, leveraging biometric technology, again, creating frictionless and touchless environments, not just in the traveler space, but also in our own workspaces. And frankly, looking at our footprint across all of our offices to ensure that we are truly leveraging the space that we need and, reallocating resources, from costly investments that clearly we've demonstrated we can use towards other programs and tackling other threats.
All right, thanks, Mark. I think I have time for another question. Let me just get this one in, if I can. Also, Ms. Sabatino. Senator Corn and I have introduced, we're the co-leads on a trade subcommittee and finance committee, but we've introduced legislation. It's called the Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, or CTPAP. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but a pilot program act which recently passed out of our Committee on Finance by voice vote. Our bill would expand the successful program within CBP that allows trusted merchants to voluntarily submit themselves to enhanced screening and information sharing in exchange for a fast-track customs clearance process for imported goods. Ultimately, we believe it will strengthen our national security while creating jobs and expediting the movement of goods. Since you mentioned the benefit of the current CTPAP program in use at CBP in your testimony, I hope to continue working on this issue with you and your colleagues at the agency. My question would be this, Commissioner Sabatino, what other steps should Congress consider to modernize and improve the security of imported goods at our ports of entry?
We certainly look forward to working with you on the legislation. The CTPAP program is a very important program to us because we rely very heavily on the companies that are invested in the program to also help illuminate those bad actors that we can identify in the supply chain. We rely on them, certainly to trust in us to do our mission and receive the benefits, of the program. With respect to, the future of the CTPAP program, the work that we're doing in engaging with other similar programs, international programs, where we can, I think BASC is a good example of that, and having recently signed an agreement with the BASC organization to help collaborate on some of these investments in identifying the good actors in the trade space, but also help us illuminate the vulnerabilities and the bad actors, as well as the networks tied to those bad actors.
All right, great. Thank you so much for those responses. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for your service.
Thank you, Senator.